All right, well, welcome everyone to our Monday, December the 18th work session board meeting. I call the meeting to order and I ask our treasurer to please call the roll, please.
Mr. Moore?
Here.
Mrs. Shiver?
Here.
Mrs. Stewart?
Here.
Mrs. Mulligan?
Here.
Dr. Urso?
Here. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved. Second.
Any questions regarding the agenda? I see shaking heads no. All right, then, Mr. Bertram.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Shiver?
Yes.
Mrs. Stewart?
Yes.
Mrs. Mulligan?
Yes.
Dr. Urso?
Yes. It would appear that we have a presentation this evening on course of study. I noticed that we have Ms. Prohaska and Ms. Hensley here to join us. I'll welcome them and look forward to hearing about our course of study for next year.
As Ms. Prohaska is approaching the mic, just want to mention that we are still in the throes of our Middletown High School redesign work, and some of the information you're going to hear this evening, you're going to hear about how we're starting to look at some of our classes and move them towards the redesign concepts that we've been discussing as a district. Take it away.
Hey, good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, I'm here to share the next year's course of study with some of the updates, and as Ms. Helser shared, how we're moving forward with the redesign of the high school. I'll start with the middle school because that is the least of the changes. Next year, we have an opportunity to make an adjustment. We've been offering digital media for the past couple of years, for about 7 years now, at the middle school, with some staffing changing and some opportunity of courses that we are offering at Highview, our 6th grade center, along with the high school. We've made a decision to move away from digital media and put in a new course. Our counselors surveyed the students, what type of course would you like to take? It came out on top, it was photography and graphic design. So next year we will be implementing an intro to photography and graphic design at our middle school, all off student voice. It was an interesting survey. Some other options they listed were life skills, interior design, cooking and baking, construction and gaming. But the top two were photography and graphic design. So next year we will be moving forward with that implementation.
Will they use their phones for the cameras?
We're working through that right now, making sure everybody has equal opportunity, because not everybody has the same level of phone. So we're looking through the resources and the different supplies that we'll need to get for that course.
Will they be able to, again, I mean, I'm sure you're building these things, so I apologize if this is still in the works, but will they develop them, the pictures, or?
It will be digital.
All
It
digital?
will be all digital. We won't go down the old, I thought about that too, looking into it, and I'm like, we'll still stick with digital, because it gets them ready for the workforce.
For sure.
In this day and age, it is about graphic design and how you present yourself and build your brand, those components. So that's where we're starting to build their future.
Yeah, no, that would be a fun course. I would
Yes.
like taking that one.
At the high school, next year, we will be continuing with our cyber pathway. This year, we have 38 students in year one. It's been a great success. Our teacher, Jimmy Moore, he's a rock star, absolute rock star. We're in a cohort with Digital Promise, and the feedback I get from the group is how Jimmy Moore is leading the pathway across the nation on taking charge of implementing this in Middletown. So we will continue with phase 2 next year, and then the following year we'll bring phase 3 in, course level 3. Another change we are making, we are moving away from sports officiating, and we're going to put pathways in athletics. This is geared towards the career focus that we are moving toward with the redesign, and students will learn what type of careers you have in the athletic realm. It's just not about playing the sport, it's what other opportunities you have when you have that interest in athletics. Also, we're putting in agricultural science in place of indoor-outdoor science. This is after the students all went on that field trip up to the OSU agricultural experience, and they loved it. So the feedback is, let's move towards that course based off student interest, and it will tie into careers and future opportunities for them. And forensics, another high-demand, high-interest course we're bringing in to the science department, and we'll introduce them to fingerprinting and investigation, the science side of the detective work.
The curriculum for these courses, is it teacher developed, district developed? Is it purchased from an outside vendor? For example, the pathways in athletic or the agricultural science, will there be a set curriculum that's already established that we're utilizing, or is it something that Middletown itself will develop?
We will reach out to different districts that are already using this and then bring it in to give it to the Middletown flair, the Middletown perspective, and work through that next semester. The teachers will be having their input in that also.
And we already have staff that's qualified to teach these courses?
Yes. Continuing on, we are moving forward and bringing in Project Lead the Way, the Intro to Engineering Design Foundations. That was an interest based off our students' feedback on what level of engineering they would like to pursue. So this one, we're bringing in the foundational, the intro to the foundations at the high school level. As our ESL population is growing, as everybody is aware, we are bringing in an ESL Foundations course to help our newcomers. Our newcomers, the population is growing, and they need that extra support to be successful in the U.S. curriculum and academics. So we'll be bringing in an ESL Foundations course. And also feedback is advanced college prep. Our students are needing additional support in filling out FAFSA and other college components as you're applying. So we're bringing in a course if students are interested to take that as an elective to support their post-secondary options.
Could you walk through just the ESL Foundations course, like what kinds of things would be a part of that class? A couple examples.
One is learning the understanding of the basic foundations of some of the communication skills. Really focus on simple language, communication, directions, the basics of being able to, also working through the Middletown life of the high school. So we'll help them work through and focus on this is how the courses go, give that extra support to walk them through the building or help them understand, I'm in biology, but how does this pertain in how we're moving forward? Because it is a struggle right now when their students are coming in with zero English and building that bridge and an understanding of the day-to-day life in U.S. schools and just in the U.S.
So students will take this as like their first semester or first quarter in Middletown City Schools, and then from there, I mean, is there a constant influx of students that there will be
There's
a constant influx
yes.
of?
We're very transient.
Oh, yeah.
Every week we probably get 5 or 6. We have 5 or 6 leaving, and then some of the students, when they leave, they're out of school for a year or two, and when they come back, they just need that additional support and that mentorship to be successful in the U.S., in Middletown.
I was glad to see the financial literacy and economics. Can you expand a little bit on how that will be different from what we've been offering? And also with the agricultural science, are you working with Butler Tech at all, since they already have a pretty sophisticated science offering?
When we start down the path for agricultural science, we will be partnering with fellow members that are in our area of what they've implemented.
Okay.
We'll pull in all those resources.
Great.
I have 2 more slides.
There you go.
There you go. Sorry. Financial literacy, nice leeway in.
Thank you.
So as we shared a couple years ago, financial literacy, the ODE implemented with the 2026 class, they required 0.5 of financial literacy before graduation. Middletown City Schools, we decided to hold off on providing the financial lit course until your junior year, because that's when the students are now driving, they're out there in the workforce, really having to understand how to use their money, how to save money as they move forward. Next year, it's time for the 2026 class will be juniors. So we will be bringing in the financial lit component, and all students will be taking it. Now, next year, we are doing a new class. We are combining the financial lit with our current economics class. They will get simultaneous credit for taking econ and financial lit. There are so many standards that cross over between econ and financial literacy that this is a perfect opportunity to start this new feature of offering double credit for one class. So this is the first time Middletown will be doing this new type of class of offering simultaneous credit. And again, these two classes partner together. What we're doing is we have all the econ standards along with all the financial lit standards, and we're doing a crosswalk. And out of the standards, over half of them cross over in both curriculums. Then we just have to add in the couple econ standards that don't fall into the financial lit standards, along with the couple of the financial lit standards that don't fall into the econ standards. And that's how we'll build that curriculum.
Thank you.
So they will be getting their 0.5 financial lit, along with 0.5 of social studies. And that is the updates for next year. A lot of new courses coming in with that career focus, which is shifting following the strategic plan of implementing careers and following our P2T plan for next year at the high school.
Can you say a little bit about entering ninth graders in PE and health next year?
Yes. 2 years ago, we implemented opportunities for the middle schools to receive high school credit. So the incoming freshmen next year will have their PE completed, because we implemented that. They're receiving high school credit in middle school along with their health credit, which opens up additional opportunities for the students to take more classes, and then opens up their pathway as they move up the 11th and 12th grade. They already have a lot of their classes completed, that they can look into different features, leaving early. There's all kinds of things that we can do differently at the high school.
I might be on the wrong page or in the wrong building for all I know, but I'm looking at something here, the new state requirements for graduation.
Yes.
Now, that I just wasn't aware of all that.
It's changing, yes. A lot of changing, even through this year and the upcoming years. There is a lot of change going on, because with the SEALs, the college and career readiness component that they have to have, students have to graduate.
So that counts for this year's graduates?
Yes,
And they've had a chance to meet up to try for all the requirements?
yes,
Okay.
yes. That's been in the works for the past 2 years, preparing as the students move through the high school.
And this might be more appropriate when we're looking at the middle school, but how are students chosen to do the, what they call the Early College Academy with Miami?
The Early College Academy is through, they're not in middle school, they're in high school, and their sophomore year, they can apply to be in the academy.
Okay, so they don't do that until their last 2 years of high school, that's
Correct.
right.
Yes.
So is there mention of that in this material I'm looking at here?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other-
My big question is always, how do we distribute this to our parents? I know it's available online. I know it's available on the website. Everything else I'm assuming, so if you can explain it to me.
It's online. They start in February, meeting with the students, the counselors do. They post all the information. They host CCP orientations starting in January to bring the parents in to explain that process. We do not hand out paper anymore to go home with the students. That is a cost now that everything's online. It's posted on our website. It's posted, Mrs. Cotter sends out messaging through voicemail, one calls, also through emails, those type of notifications. And then it's also, the students have to take some ownership in that too.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Again, I might be on the wrong page or in the wrong building, but this, in the art, under the art course of studies or course offerings, Intro to Art Tutoring, Peer-A. What was it? Is that taught by the kids?
That is support for the students. So some of our students need additional support when they're in the art classes, and other students come in, gen ed students come in and support the students. This is an opportunity for them to do some additional support, tutoring, and build those relationships.
Do the same in math?
Math does not have that.
Okay.
We have it in other areas.
Sounds pretty cool.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions? A little bit later on in the agenda, we're going to ask for a vote in approval, board approval for the course of study for next year. Thank you so much, Ms. Prohaska, for all the work, the course of study. Thank you.
That takes us to the consent agenda. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
A second, please.
Second.
Questions, concerns regarding tonight's consent agenda? No. If there are none, then Mr. Bertram.
Okay. Mrs. Shiver?
Yes.
Mrs. Stewart?
Yes.
Mrs. Mulligan?
Yes.
Dr. Urso?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Under Human Resources this evening, there's an MOU for National Web Check Program Services and Equipment. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved. Oh, second.
Would Ms. Hauser, could you
Sure.
provide an overview of this?
So this is the contract. This is a yearly contract that's in place for our fingerprinting that occurs in human resources. You know, all of our staff members with BCI and FBI checks, and volunteers go through HR. So what you see on the agenda tonight is the contract with National Web Check.
Any questions prior to the vote?
We always have the same people?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, if there are no questions, then Mr. Bertram?
Mrs. Stewart?
Yes.
Mrs. Mulligan?
Yes.
Dr. Urso?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Shiver?
Yes.
Under curriculum and instruction, as mentioned a minute ago, there's a recommended approval for the middle school and high school course of study for the 24-25 school year. Is there a motion for approval?
Is there a method for revising or correcting, or if something comes up in the course of the year, or is this cast in stone now?
So if there's a big change in the course of study, if you make it available to all students, you can do that.
Okay.
But it's a big change that
Yeah,
has,
it would
if it's
be, yeah.
made, right?
Okay. All right.
Is there a motion for approval?
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
A second. Any questions? I had, typically, do we do a first read on course of studies and then the vote the following meeting in prior years?
Todd shaking his head, yes.
We have in previous years. It
I think
hasn't.
we.
Okay.
We have.
Do you feel comfortable, or would you prefer to do a second vote for the?
Is this time sensitive?
Well, we start all the classes and publishing the course of studies for our students. Yep, and it starts in January, so we'd have to definitely put it on January 8th.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't mind voting this evening. It is a little hazy, the ESL Foundations course. Not that Ms. Prohaska, you did a great job explaining it. Just an understanding what its premise is, and is it just grouping kids together for a period? I'm just unsure about that, and would rather have a little bit of information regarding that course and the need and what it's hoping to achieve. It's not to say that can't happen outside of a meeting too.
Okay.
so.
My experience with ESL kids that I've worked with, most of the ones I've had do have some English that they come in with, but their grammar impairs their understanding of lots of things.
And so I could see the non-speaking children are a whole nother thing, but even those who seem like they can function in the world, when they get in school sometimes, there are a lot of little pieces that go into that support just to get them through common core standards.
Yeah.
Test taking, I found, is really difficult for them. And I often explain to them that it would be, if I went to Mexico right now and tried to use the Spanish that I know, you would laugh at me, because we don't always know the proper word for the way it's being used in the sentence. So I could see as an experienced person working with little ones, not also little ones, but even the ones who come in speaking very well don't have the grammar that their peers have at the same level.
Right.
Does
It's the
that-
mechanics of the English language.
It really is,
Right.
and it's a killer. And not to mention all the other things that you said that kids need support for, but that alone, I know, is a difficult thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think anytime moving into a new environment, you're going to need some assistance along the way. Just curious around how this class addresses
Sure.
some of those challenges. And what is the metrics that we're going to use to ensure that taking the beginning of the semester or quarter, towards the end of the quarter, where are we going to see movement that's going to allow students to, I guess, better navigate the hallway and life outside of the school too? So again, some of the other courses I think are a little bit easier for me to understand, just because, forensics is pretty straightforward in
Sure.
terms of what it speaks to, where that one's a little bit more vague or nebulous in my mind in regards to
I think it's probably
what
because it has so many points to it, and it would be interesting to hear what goes into it. But I understand that, because I don't think it's definitely not a one-size-fits-all.
Yeah,
Definitely not.
So we could definitely share some information with the board around that class.
And if
So
we-
are you saying you would like to hold off on voting, or would you feel comfortable tonight with an explanation? What are you thinking?
I don't want to hold things up. If these things are
Okay.
time sensitive.
They are
I have
time
full faith and
sensitive.
trust in my curriculum staff, our curriculum staff, our superintendent, that we're making good decisions.
Good.
It's just as we as board members to make decisions, to have information about certain things, it's helpful. And that's where a first read sometimes makes this process a little cleaner.
In a perfect world, I would like to go through it again, through the courses of study, and see if our, I guess you'd call it our objective, our dream, our vision, that we started a few years ago of more hands-on learning and learning in the real world, if that's being maintained and encouraged in these courses. And I didn't do that, but I would like to have time to do that.
Okay.
Just satisfy my
Well,
thirst
so
for knowledge
do you
about that.
do you want to hold off until January 8th, or do you feel comfortable tonight? So that's what we need to know.
I'm comfortable tonight.
I'm comfortable tonight.
Yeah, we can take a vote now.
Okay, there we go.
that's fine.
There we go.
Predicated on the fact that we'll come back and have
Yes,
some
we will.
information, further
We
dialogue.
will gladly
around it.
share that with you.
Okay.
Perfect. I think we have a motion and a second.
We
We're ready
already
for,
took the vote.
Oh, we did?
I don't think we voted yet.
No, we haven't voted yet.
No.
That was consent, Randy.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. This was
We'll get it
pulled
back on the
down,
rails here in a
And it still
second.
says consent on it, but I wrote it down here. Todd made the motion, Kathy made the second. We will do the voting now. My apologies. Mrs. Mulligan?
Yes.
Dr. Urso?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Schreiber?
Yes.
Mrs. Stewart?
Yes.
Thank you.
Under finance, we have the approval of a new comprehensive school compensation agreement with the city of Middletown, and I believe it's Mr. Bertram. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments?
I did send out an email explaining the changes in this agreement versus the last agreement, and just on the CRAs, that it's going from a 25 to 33% for the city to have a little more leverage to attract businesses to town.
Appreciate that. All right, I think we're ready for a vote, Mr. Bertram.
And start with Dr. Urso,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Shiver,
Yes.
Mrs. Stewart,
Yes.
Mrs. Mulligan.
Yes.
Looks like it takes us to committee reports within the agenda, if I'm reading this correct. Any committees since our last meeting, have they met? I see Ms. Shiver.
Yes.
And so would you
Oh,
like to share?
Mrs.
some
Mulligan, you jump in wherever you want with the policy committee.
Okay.
We have a boatload, so I'm going to attempt to go through these as quickly as I can, so you know what we've been talking about. If I leave something out, please help me, because
Okay.
I think there's one group that I am
Okay.
confused about. Okay. Again, all of these policy recommendations, we are advised through Ohio School Board Association, and they're based on legal things that happen within the state. So we have information about dyslexia screening and tutoring children who are deemed eligible for that type of thing. That's one of the things we had to do. So that adds another layer to the already widening tutoring that goes on during the school day. We have information about notification of school board meetings, which is pretty much the same. There weren't a whole lot of new things there. Health education, it's reinforcing the idea that children are being trained for safety, personal safety, community safety, violence prevention, suicide awareness, and I already said personal safety. So questions, that's what we are supposed to be doing in our health education classes. College Credit Plus pretty much has remained the same. Child abuse, that's always at the forefront of teachers' minds, and teachers are trained to detect that. Schools have to have policies in place, and teachers are trained to how to spot it, how to try to figure out what's going on there. That was 1 week.
I think that's the meeting I missed, is it not?
I don't know. You jump in,
Okay.
because I couldn't remember which week was which, I'll tell you the truth. All right, so then the next one, we went over, and by the way, these are all going to be online under the policy thing, so anybody who's interested in this can read it. Distribution of materials in school, what can be distributed, when, how, and whose approval you have to get to do that. And that would be for adults and children. They have to have this. Board member conflicts of interest. We can't have any interest in companies that has a contract with the board, or we cannot vote on issues that deal with contracts of relatives and be employed by the board. That's pretty much it. Petty cash accounts, it talks about what can be, how those are monitored, how much you can have in that. Also, the cash in school buildings, there are rules about that, how much can be there, where you have to put it, and who takes care of it. Emergency closings. This had to be modified based on our experiences a few years ago, that when the safety of children is in consideration, we have to make our decisions based on experts around us. So it's just not we vote and see who wants to do what. We have to take into account experts' opinions, and more than just one, which I think we did. There's a policy on free and reduced lunches. Staff dressing, which is to dress in a manner that is acceptable by the community. But one point in there is we have to refrain from wearing political pins or paraphernalia. And staff participation in political activities. We cannot use district time to promote our political preferences. So that's a policy addition. Staff gifts and solicitations have to be moderate, and usually social committees are formed within schools to take care of those kind of issues. Teacher contracts, there's delivery of timelines. Those are pretty much the same as, teachers must be given plenty of notice about if they're coming back and all their options, that type of thing. teaching, substitute teaching, there was a big difference made in the policy at the state of Ohio about who can be a sub in schools. Now you just have to have, am I correct, a high school diploma?
High school diploma.
To do that, which I'm sure it has to do with the few amount of subs, although it is complete contrast to me to all the expert skills that teachers have to employ on a day-to-day basis. So I find that one works against the other in my mind.
Do they have to be 21? Did we specify that?
Did they say? I don't think so. No.
No.
Not from the state, but I think our district
Yeah.
requires
Yeah.
21.
Okay, all right. There's a policy about suspension or termination of professional staff members, and I don't believe that differed a great deal from what we've already had. I think, I'm pretty sure. Help me if I'm wrong. Okay, back to the second group. This one, the third grade reading guarantee is back, where if third graders do not reach a certain level of proficiency past the state test, they can be retained for another year. That went away through the COVID years since we lost so much time with the children, but this is back now, so I guess people figure we've had time to recoup. Let's see. Retentions, there was a policy on retention. There are no conditional promotions, and you can only fail twice in public schools. Teachers and administrators must have material to justify the retention. And some of those are testing measures of achievement and providing information for diagnostic instruction if that's needed. Am I okay on that one?
Yeah.
All right. Homeschooling and instruction is now called home education. And I'm never sure where these policies came from, but as the stringency of public school regulations increases, it seems that home education becomes looser. That's according to the policy I have. I'm very curious, and I do not know what legislation brought that up, why that is the way it is, but that's a new policy. Okay, and I think, the last group, I think that's it. I think that could be it.
Did
Does
we
it-
cover the, having the dogs in the schools?
Yep. Yes, we
That's-
have.
we did
We've
that
covered it
separately,
and we've
didn't we?
adopted
That was a
that,
new one.
yes.
That was a brand new one that we did on our own.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I think you talked about everything else.
I always talk about everything else, so.
I
If
have
that
nothing to
seems to cover it, that was a lot.
Yes.
That is a lot. So, people are busy making rules for all kinds of things.
I would say on a whole with the policy committee, we saw quite a few policies where they were really cleaning it up with home education
Yes,
language.
that was
Right, so they were
major.
changing like homeschool to home education, or home education was no longer a criteria for certain, policies. It was a cleanup. We had cleanup with the home education piece. I don't know if the board's aware, but it was back in October that we went from homeschooling to home education. Now a parent in order to qualify for home education, they simply just complete a form or send an email stating that they would like to home educate their child. Whereas in the past, they had to identify curriculum, they had to identify the criteria of the home instructor, and that's
That's
gone now.
looser too.
And that makes no sense to me with
Right.
all the rules that are given to public school districts about everything, every aspect of instruction. So I'm curious, I have to go back and look and see where that came from. I'm curious what brought that about.
Who
It's a very
proposed that? Yeah.
interesting development, I think, in the state of Ohio.
And Debbie, you said now they just need to notify?
They just need to notify. So there's no approval process, it's just a notification.
In writing.
Correct. And before, there was an approval process. Yeah.
And they are not bound by the Ohio test
No testing,
all.
no.
How many students do we have on home education?
219, 214, 2 something. Yeah,
Okay.
it changes each day.
And so that definitely,
219.
it brings a dilemma for people, you know, if this increases, what happens should they decide to bring their
Come
child
back.
here? Or to any public school system? How do you fit them in? Where do they go?
Right.
So, curious.
And where
very
do they
curious
land?
to me.
That-
A diploma.
They're not awarded a diploma from Middletown City Schools.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Very
from the state of
curious.
Ohio.
Very curious to me. That's
And-
it. That's
No, you did a
that's the policy
beautiful
committee.
job.
in a
We've been
nutshell.
busy.
Thank you. We have been busy.
Understanding we have an organizational meeting in January, will these committees all maintain into the new year? I know the community center committee is probably obsolete now.
That one's dropped.
But the other ones, will they all be back? Are there any additions that we should look out for as we look to make decisions?
We probably need to chat about that.
Yeah, being
Yeah.
Ms. Hauser's first
Being
round
new,
for an
yeah.
organizational meeting. that's
Is there a
something
committee you'd
talk
like to
about.
serve on?
No, I,
And as far as.
Yeah.
Well,
who
we can
sits on
talk.
what, of course, you
Yeah.
guys always
yeah,
make
we'll
that decision.
dive through that, but
Yeah.
understanding that our next meeting will make those decisions to know what will be there for us to decide, I think would be helpful.
Sure.
Well,
We can give you a
the,
heads up on that.
The policy committee's caught up now.
That
There's no-
that committee is not going away.
Almost.
Oh, really?
Remember, I got an email the same day we had
Yeah,
the
she's-
last meeting to catch
Right.
up, so.
Right.
Yeah, that
We'll-
will
we'll,
that
uh,
will stay around.
We'll meet again in January and keep going. Yeah.
Good, thank you.
And we're in better shape now than we were. Yes, much better.
Well, that would bring us to Board of Education reports, and Mr. Moore, about leadoff.
Sure, yeah. That was a hefty policy committee review, so.
We've done a lot of reading.
Got me thinking over here. I just want to say to my friend Verlina, I know this is our last night. I'm sure that there'll be many opportunities for us to work together, thinking about some of these committees that, particularly Butler Tech and some other issues. Certainly like to open some conversation about that as we move forward. But very much enjoyed working with you. And just wanted to wish you the best.
Thank you.
And also to our students and families and to our staff.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Stewart, anything?
I would like to report on Butler Tech as my last report of the year. I had the pleasure of attending the ACT conference, annual conference in Phoenix. It was amazing. This community should be and would have been so proud of the work Butler Tech is doing. They are a gem among all of their peers, highly respected, and they're doing amazing work. We are so fortunate to have them in our backyard and as a resource. So just continue to look at Butler Tech and the work they're doing and make sure that the students are aware of it and are taking advantage of it. I have so enjoyed serving on this board, more than I imagined. I shared with Debbie a week or so ago. You all are like family to me, and I was not expecting that. While I thought I was going to enjoy and learn a lot, and I have, I did not expect to just appreciate you all so much and feel like your family. And I'm going to really miss sitting and working with you, but I fully intend on continuing to participate in the process and helping out where I can. So thank you, Nita, for your kind words. Thank you to the Teachers Association for supporting me. I appreciate your vote of confidence very much. And Randy and Debbie, thank you so much. And to my boss, thank you very much. That's it.
Ms. Mulligan?
I share the feeling that Verlina is a gem. She makes me think, and I've learned a lot from her. So thank you, Verlina. And like you say, it's all in the family, so that's good. we've had a good year, I think, an unusual, in some ways, an unusual year with recovering from COVID and looking at how we're doing. But it made us look at things, and an evaluation is always good because you uncover things that you might have missed. And I feel that overall, we learned a lot from when we kind of had to recalibrate for the COVID years. And well, it's always a challenge to lead a school district, and I know that other schools have their challenges too. So we're right in style there. So Verlina, I'm glad that you're connected to us through the CBI, and so somebody's getting the advantage of your knowledge, expertise, and passion. So thank you, Verlina. And I don't have anything to say to my boss.
Jeez. No pressure now. Just want to raise up a couple of our students. I know our cheer squad, our competition cheer squad, I think they placed first at the Beaver Creek Invitational over the past few days. So kudos and congrats to them. Our women's basketball team, I think they took down Coleraine, if I'm reading it correctly, over the last few days and have gotten off to a really good start. Our bowlers are knocking down pins, both the men's and women's, lots of them, a lot more than I ever would. And I believe our men's basketball team is off to their best start since 2010. 6-0, 7-0, 6-0,
Wow.
Something like that. And so really excited for them. Is it 6? I'm forecasting 7. And so excited for that group. To our seniors, I know the FAFSA has opened up. I believe it's a shorter form. It took a little longer to open it up, but I do think it's up and ready to have people be frustrated at. And so I encourage all of our seniors to do that. And the best for last, Verlina, even tonight, you're asking about families. How can families get access to the course of study? That's the compass. You're a student, family-centered person. You're smart, articulate, talented, and our community in so many ways benefits. You make us look better. And so it's been a distinct, and it's not an ending for me. I'm looking forward to continue to work with you and consider you a good friend as I sit at the table with you, and look forward to just continuing to work with you. I believe we have flowers
We do. Yes, we
over
do.
On the table to give you, which is a small token of the time and stress and everything that goes into doing this. But know that you're revered by all of us in such a highlight. And again, the way that you focus on the right things and you say the right things and do the right things helps us as a board to make the decisions that our kids dearly need. So thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
I might as well keep going at you, Berlina.
Oh, wow.
As my boss. You've been terrific here, you really have. You stepped right in, and your learning curve was about 2 meetings, I think, and you were right in it. And you're appreciated by everyone, you know that. As Chris mentioned, it's not a goodbye. We still have a lot of work together with CBI and the school district, and definitely value your input there with our students. And I know you're going to be needed down the road, so we know where to find you. So thank you very much. And then, to all 5 of my bosses, thank you for the vote of confidence tonight to extend my contract. I wasn't ready to go. 3.5 years ago when I started talking about retirement, which would have been at the end of this July, I thought I'd be ready. But with the people I work with every day, Debbie, Gary, Melissa, our great union folks, teachers, I love what I do. I'm proud of what I do. And my wife's a little disappointed because she thought she'd be retiring, but she's going to work a few years too, I think, wait on me. And I'm just looking forward to continuing the work. It does mean a lot to me, and I'm glad I can do it right here in Middletown.
And we're thrilled you're still here, Mr. Bertram. Yeah, so I have a couple things. Tomorrow, we will be pushing out a communication to our community, staff, students, community. We will be, I know everyone's been hearing about April 8th and the solar eclipse that's going to be hitting this area a little bit harder than other areas, right? So we've had solar eclipse in the past, but what's unique about this solar eclipse is that we're right in the band where people will be able to observe total darkness, and it's going to look a little bit darker than it usually is, right? Which brings many people into our area, so it's a safety concern. So we will be announcing that April 8th for our school district will be a calamity day. So parents, you put that on the calendar. Communication will come out tomorrow to make that official. Also, big news, we earned another grant. Super exciting, from the state of Ohio. It's the Ohio Industry Sector Partnership to the tune of $125,000. This grant comes from the city. This is a true partnership. Adopt a Class, our City of Middletown, and then Middletown City Schools in partnership submitted for these dollars. And what it's going to bring is really a focus on entrepreneurship into our middle school and then into the high school. So that's really exciting. Also want to say, everyone have a great holiday. Shoot, we've accomplished quite a bit the first semester. So go home, enjoy your families, relax, rest up, because we'll be back early in January. And then, Verlina, it has been awesome having you at the table. We've worked together. I think it's been 17 years that we've worked together. So a long time. So I definitely know this is not goodbye. So it won't be at this table, but it'll be at the other tables. You know, your mission for early childhood in in the city of Middletown, it's just not our district, right? The city of Middletown, all the great work that's ahead of us when it comes to the community center. So you are still steering the ship at that table. So really, it was awesome spending time with you as a board member, but we know exactly where you are, and we just continue down the road with the initiatives that we've begun 17 years ago. Yeah.
Thank you, Deb.
Oh, one more thing. And we had Christmas for All today at the high school. And once again, kudos and a big shout out to everyone that, really, it is a team effort for Christmas for All. All of our students coming from all of 10 buildings at Middletown High School, Santa Claus, Mrs. Claus, face painting, dancing, line dancing. I saw Miss Businger. I saw you line dancing out there. Our police, there are just so many people. The police department, the fire department, our parachuting friends down at the airport, just so many people. And really, that's what the holiday's all about when you see this. And it's not just the students, it's the staff too. Big smiles on their faces, and that's truly the holiday spirit. So a big shout out.
You forgot Santa Claus, Mrs. Claus, Elf.
I said that, Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus. I did not say elf, though. Yeah, but it was, yeah. So kudos and hats off to everyone for that celebration.
Yeah, on behalf of the Board of Education, we want to thank everyone also for their contributions. I know a lot of nice people do a lot of nice things to make sure that that event is always something that you see a lot of smiles, and a lot of kids that are enjoying it, and a lot of adults enjoying it too. So thank you. Is there anything else? Are we sure? Are we ready for a motion for adjournment?
So move.
In a second?
Second.
Almost scares you so fast. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, same sign.
Have a good evening and a safe holiday.
Yeah.